Imagine discovering that the monsters humanity has hunted for 1,000 years are the same blood running through your veins, and the man who raised you, the man who protected you your entire life, was once a hunter sworn to kill you. This is the story of a boy who lost everything in a single night and awakened as the very monster the world fears most.
Before we go deep into the story, please like, comment, and subscribe.
For most people, the legend of Momotaro is nothing more than a simple children's story, a heroic boy born from a peach who sets out on a journey to defeat terrifying demons known as Oni. In the tale, Momotaro sails to the distant island of Onigashima, defeats the monsters that terrorize humanity, and returns home victorious. The demons are defeated, peace returns to the land, and the story ends happily ever after. But what if the story never truly ended? What if the war between Momotaro and the Oni never stopped? What if it simply disappeared from the eyes of the world, hidden beneath centuries of silence? Because the truth is far darker than the fairy tale. For thousands of years, the descendants of Momotaro have hunted the bloodlines of the Oni. The battle that began in ancient legend continued across generations, passed down from parent to child like an inherited duty. Eventually, the descendants of Momotaro formed an organization dedicated to one purpose: eradicating Oni wherever they might appear. A secret group operating far beyond the knowledge of ordinary society. They call themselves the Momotaro Agency. Their mission is simple: find the Oni hiding among humans and eliminate them before their power awakens. But monsters do not always look like monsters. Sometimes, they look like ordinary teenagers. Shiki Ichinose was one of those teenagers. At least, that's what he believed. To Shiki, life was simple: school fights, late-night ramen, and endless arguments with his stubborn old man. Teachers hated him. He had a short temper and a habit of throwing punches before thinking. Trouble followed him everywhere he went. So when the day finally came that the school expelled him, Shiki didn't even bother pretending to care. He laughed because in his mind, the world was already ridiculous. Being expelled just meant one less place telling him what to do. As he walked home under the fading afternoon sky, he called a friend and joked about the situation. He sounded carefree, almost proud. But that night would be the last normal night of his life. The Ichinose family liquor store stood quietly on a small neighborhood street. It was old, worn down, and barely surviving. Inside, bottles lined dusty shelves while the faint smell of alcohol filled the air. Behind the counter stood Shiki's father, Tsuyoshi Ichinose, a rough man with a sharp tongue and a permanent scowl. When he heard the news about Shiki being expelled, the shouting began immediately. "What the hell did you do this time?" Shiki shouted back just as loudly. Their arguments were nothing new. They fought about everything: school, responsibility, the failing store, and the uncertain future waiting for both of them. At one point, in the heat of the moment, Shiki said something cruel, something he didn't truly mean. He looked his father in the eyes and said the only good thing about their relationship was that they didn't share the same blood. For a moment, the room fell silent. Tsuyoshi didn't yell back. He didn't punch the counter. Instead, he simply turned away. Because deep down, he knew the truth Shiki didn't, and that truth hurt far more than the insult. Outside the liquor store, a man stood quietly beneath the streetlights. His expression was calm, cold, observant. His name was Samidare Momoya, and he wasn't there to buy anything. He had come to hunt. Inside his veins flowed the bloodline of Momotaro, which meant he carried the same mission passed down for generations: eliminate the Oni. And tonight, his target was Shiki Ichinose. The attack came without warning. Glass shattered. The store's front door exploded inward. Before Shiki could even understand what was happening, his father grabbed him by the arm and shoved him toward the car parked outside. "Get in." The engine roared to life as Tsuyoshi slammed the gas pedal. Tires screeched against the pavement as they sped down the dark streets. Shiki shouted questions from the passenger seat. "What the hell is going on? Who is that guy?" But Tsuyoshi didn't answer immediately. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as the headlights of the pursuing figure grew closer behind them. Finally, he spoke. "Shiki, "You're a descendant of the Oni." For a moment, Shiki thought it was a joke. The idea sounded ridiculous, like something straight out of a manga. But the man chasing them was moving faster than any human should. A strange black mist surrounded his body, swirling like smoke, and Tsuyoshi's voice carried a seriousness Shiki had never heard before. The fairy tale was real. Eventually, the chase came to a sudden stop. The car screeched to a halt as Samidare landed in front of them, blocking the road. Tsuyoshi stepped out of the vehicle. The hunter looked at him carefully, then spoke a name Shiki had never heard before. Tsuyoshi Momogawara. Tsuyoshi froze. Shiki stared in confusion. Samidare continued calmly. "You used to be one of us, a member of the Momotaro agency." The truth shattered everything. Shiki's father wasn't just a liquor store owner. He had once been a demon hunter. For years, he had hidden his identity, living a quiet life in order to protect the one person the agency wanted dead, his own son. Samidare's voice grew colder. "You sheltered an Oni," which meant both of them had to die. But Tsuyoshi stepped forward, placing himself between the hunter and his son. Samidare couldn't understand it. Why protect him? Oni are monsters. Tsuyoshi spat blood and glared back. A father doesn't need a reason to protect his son. The battle began immediately. Samidare was powerful. His attacks were swift and precise. Black mist exploded with every strike. Tsuyoshi fought back desperately, but each blow pushed him closer to death. Shiki could only watch, helpless, confused, terrified, until something inside him broke. Rage flooded his body. His blood burned beneath his skin. Something ancient, something violent awakened within him. Oni blood. Shiki screamed as power surged through his veins. His senses sharpened, his muscles twisted, his mind filled with a single overwhelming urge: kill. This was the terrifying truth about the Oni. Once their power awakened, their humanity began to fade. Even Samidare hesitated, because this is exactly why the Momotaro hunted them. But the fight didn't end there. Tsuyoshi, barely alive, dragged himself toward his son. Even as blood poured from his wounds, he wasn't thinking about the war. He was thinking about Shiki, the stubborn kid who loved ramen, the boy who picked fights at school, the son who once said they didn't share the same blood. Tsuyoshi didn't care, because to him, Shiki had always been his son. With his final strength, he grabbed Shiki and whispered one last request: become stronger, strong enough to defeat both the Momotaro and the Oni, so no one could ever steal your happiness again. Moments later, Tsuyoshi Ichinose died. By the time emergency sirens filled the air, the liquor store was burning. To the outside world, it looked like nothing more than a tragic gas explosion. But the truth remained hidden in the shadows. Far away, the leaders of the Momotaro agency issued a new order. The Oni child had awakened, which meant the hunt would continue, because as long as Oni blood exists, the war will never end. That night, Shiki Ichinose lost everything: his home, his father, his normal life. But something else was born from the ashes: a warrior, a monster, a boy who would one day challenge both sides of the war. Because Shiki wasn't just an Oni, he was something far more dangerous, a monster who still had a human heart. And that is something neither the Oni nor the Momotaro were prepared to face. The fairy tale says the hero defeated the demons, but history is written by the survivors, and this time, the demon intends to rewrite the story.